So, tell me about when you met Grandma Jean.
Huh?
Tell me about when you met Grandma Jean.
I was in the Navy when I met her.
How old were you?
I was 20, 21, I guess it was.
And wasn't she really young? Wasn't she like 12?
Huh?
Wasn't she like 12 years old? How old was Grandma?
Oh, she was 17 on in August. When we married in December then.
And how old was she when you met her?
20, 23, I believe it was. I knew her sister before I knew her. Her older sister she was probably 4 years older than Jean was.
Hmm.
And of course, Thurman and Nova True lived over on the corner, and I knew them, and Ova, was
Her mom?
aunt.
Oh.
That was the way I really met them. Ova May was an older sister, and she'd come over and work with, help Ova out during harvest. Well, I knew Jean before that too. I'd met her, but she graduated in 48, and then we married at the 19th of September.
Mm-hmm.
She really 17 was all she was. I was 27 because I was about 10 and a half years older than she was.
Yeah. I think she told me she was about 14 when she met you for the first time.
It probably was. I've forgotten when I really met her. She come out here and went up to Leonard Barlow's and worked during the harvest, helped them out during the harvest, and that's what I never seen it. I never seen her very often, or well, not at all, until they moved up here.
What made you talk to her?
Huh?
What made you talk to her?
Yeah, well, really, I really never seen her until that just after I got out of the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd seen her and met her was all, but when I was discharged, we was cutting the wheat up here, well, right across the road from it. She brought Norma out there. Norma was about a year old. Her and Betty come out there I come up there and stopped at the combine, and she come out there to the field. That was that'd been in 48 and 40, or maybe in 46. I got out of the Navy in 46. And was that just after I got my discharge. And then when they moved up here, her dad drove a school bus for a year or two. Then Papa and I built that little house over there that they moved into for Thurman and Oma.
You built their house?
Huh?
You built their house?
We go to their house.
No, you built it?
Huh?
You built their house?
Well, I helped on it. Papa and I built it. It's just a small house. They lived there till they went to, well, we married in 48, and they went to, I think, Telecord before they died. But they lived out there. Well, I was out there several years. During that time, they moved to California for a while. He went back to California and worked. And he worked in Tulsa. Then I went out there and built a house for them there where they was at. Then they sold that and went to Maysville.
Hmm.
That's where they were at
Yeah.
when he died. She went over and stayed with Betty and Bill. That's who she was with when she died. I
Yeah.
don't remember what year it was.
I remember that.
It was.
I was a kid.
It seemed like several years after they left here before he died.
Well, I don't remember when he died. I remember when Grandma died. Grandma Potts.
I don't know what year it was. She died, seemed like 2 or 3 years before Mama did. I think she was 95, and that's what Mama was, but she was a year or two older than Mama was.
I remember Grandma Hardy babysitting me.
Huh?
I remember going to Grandma Hardy's house and she would babysit me. I remember your mom babysitting us.
Oh, yeah. Well, she lived out here over there where Douglas is at for a few years. Then she bought a trailer house and moved over here, and she wasn't here. We had a pretty good windstorm, and it rocked a little, and she didn't like it. And then we bought that house that J.W. moved into over there. She didn't move into it, but we bought it. Then she moved to town. Then after J.W. Byrd, he built it on the end of it. After he got out of the Army. I got out of the Navy in 46, and I married in 48. I was 27 years old.
Then you had a whole bunch of kids.
Huh?
Then you had a whole bunch of kids. I said, then you had a whole bunch of kids.
I had 4, that was enough.
That's a lot.
But I guess all 4 of them, well, the way you want to call it, all 4 have been divorced.
Wow. So tell me about the house when you first moved into it.
Huh?
Tell me about that. What was the house like when you first moved into it? Wasn't it really small?
Oh, it was this house here. I bought it in 41 after the war started. I got a chance to buy 120 acres here. I already had 320 north half of this section. It was plastered inside with lath and cement. It was when it was built sometime before 1921. All I knew it had It's painted on the basement wall down there with a spray paint. And I know it was there before that.
How many rooms was it?
Huh?
How many rooms? How many?
Rooms. It was 28 by 28 was what it was. What it was, this furnace here was the east side of the house. Just east of the wall here. It went to that wall there and straight west. It went straight south here. Then in 1960, we built on those 2 bedrooms there, and from here, across here to that back east here, this room here, built in on. This was east of the house. And the one that lived here when moving out here was one of them was my first grade teacher.
What was her name?
And then she was my first grade teacher, then she was my 8th grade teacher. We went to Taz. We rode to school with them down there, and then we rode horses over to Taz, 5 miles east of the mail ball, west of the mail ball. Then whenever there's 120 acres here that Kings owned, and I bought it from. They had 9 kids, and I bought it. There was
9?
there was 9 of them.
Gosh. And they all lived in 28 by 28?
I imagine they probably part of them grown before all of us here. And then the youngest one of them, Lactio and Doyle and Forrest, 2 boys, owned 120 acres. And then they decided to sell it then in 41. And I was farming it, and I bought it in. And then Doyle, the youngest one, married a cousin of mine.
When did you put this part in the house?
I built onto it in 1960.
All of it?
Huh?
All of it? Like this stuff too? The living room and...
Until then, this was the east, just the east, right about here was the east end of the house.
Gotcha.
It went from that wall to the south wall in there. I added the rest of that over there, and this here, and all the rooms, those 2 bedrooms over there.
How much did that cost you to build that much onto the house?
Not very much, because we didn't have very much.
Well, you did a good job. It's lasted a long time.
Well, when I graduated from high school, 1938, you'd be surprised what wages what it was. You got $1 a day for work, and if you took a monthly job, you got $30 your room and board. That was it. That was it.
$1 a day.
I run a tractor a lot of hours for $1 a day.
And room and board.
There was some daylight to dark too.
Wow. Kids these days whine about getting $10 an hour.
Gas was 10 cents a gallon. Diesel was 17 cents. Butane is, you could buy it for 4 cents.
Yeah, I wish diesel was 10 cents a gallon.
When I graduated, I didn't have enough money to even buy a 25-cent group picture from the class.
Wow. Wonder if we can find that picture somewhere.
You think about it now, you go to McDonald's or somewhere, pay $1 for a Coke. Ice cream cones, Cokes a nickel a piece. Penny amounted to something anymore. A lot of people, when you stop pick up a penny as a cent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, times have changed.
There's a lot of difference in the world then and now.
Yes, that's the truth. Just look at your phone.
Huh?
Just look at your phone, how different it is.
Well, there was no phones then.
You didn't even have electricity
No,
right out here.
the first phones they had out here in here, I remember when they put it out, they used the top wire on the fence for the phone line.
When did you get the party line?
There was about 8 on the party line.
When did you get electricity out here?
Huh?
When did you get electricity out here?
We got electricity here in about 1950. They got the North Plains Electric was organized in 1945, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
There was no electricity out here. That's when they first started. When the war was over, there wasn't enough. Mr. Urban down here got the first electricity to his house anywhere around, and they couldn't do any more. They didn't have enough. They couldn't get water to run water to the houses. That's just after the war and everything. Well, you could. After I got out, I bought a tractor because the veterans had the priority over the others. I bought a tractor and a wheat drill. And we didn't get electricity until about 50 over here. It was 2 years after they got it before they put it to the houses. Of course, they've added to it ever since then. Those years it wouldn't even go down to the river even.
When did you get your first TV?
Huh?
When did you get your first television?
We got the first television in 58.
How big was it?
Huh?
How big was it?
It wasn't any good, but every time you turned it on, you had to have something done to it. We didn't get a television until I started working up at Collinsworth Motor.
What'd you do up there?
Mechanic. It was during the winter, and I wasn't doing anything. And I got $65 a week. And that was it. I was guaranteed that much a week. You had to drive town and back.
But gas was only 10 cents a gallon, so it was easier.
But I wasn't doing anything. It was in March. And I'd worked on a little stuff around it. And the mechanic up there at the Studebaker place died. They wasn't very busy, but anyway, they needed some help, so he called me and wanted if I'd come up there and work a couple of weeks. So they found somebody, and I said, yeah, I'll go. I wouldn't do anything anyway. I stayed up there 4 years and he quit. I was already a farming some, and I said, whenever harvest come, I said, I've got to quit and cut wheat, plant and all. He said, well, you take off and do it, then come back.
Nice. He must have liked you okay.
And for now, $65. It costs you to drive a car in the shed for that anymore. You go through the door and it's $100.
True.
That's why you take one in the shop and then you'll pay $100 just for driving through the door.
Yeah.
My girlfriend.
That sounds silly, but that's the way things was. I wasn't busy up there all the time. I made 2 television towers while I was up there. Wasn't anything to do. I made mine, and then I made one for over the phone. But you didn't get much for wheat either. We get through harvesting, we'd have about $4,000 left after we got through it. That's what we lived on till the next year. But of course, I worked at every. Well, if you done something all the time. You got a job somewhere. $1 a day, most of it was. We started in doing a lot of carpenter work, and we got Papa and I. We got $2.50 an hour then. That was pretty good money then.
What was a good harvest considered?
And when we still going to school over Macmillan, they laid a pipeline, put a gas plant over there, and they got through. They sold the cement mixture. That's what I got out here now. I give them $30 for it, and I give them the check is $5 short. And Papa paid it all for the $5. And we run cement. I don't know, anybody wanted it, they'd call, we'd go run it. Wow. We'd make a little off of it.
What would you say is the most you ever made on a harvest?
Huh?
What would you say is the most you ever made on a harvest?
I don't know, it'd be hard to say. But harvest wages was, after I got started, it was $5 a day was all they paid in. That was $1 or $2 more than what the average wage was. You always paid more on a harvest because you usually worked a few more hours. But things are different. You can buy a tractor for about $1,100. Now they're over $300,000.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
You see these Bonneville bales of cotton, haven't you?
They're huge.
You know what the cotton stripper or baler costs?
No.
$750,000.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Do you own one? Do you own one of those, Papa? Or do you own one or do you rent one?
Huh?
Do you own one or do you rent one?
Well, you gotta do far more than I ever farmed to own one.
How long have you been working with wood?
Well, just a little bit ever since I got out of high school. but I didn't. You couldn't do anything until after we got electricity, because you had electricity to do anything with.
Well, where'd you learn it all?
Huh?
Where did you learn how to work with wood?
What?
Where'd you learn it?
Well, I made a cedar chest in high school. I made this table there after we got electricity here, and it was about 1950 we got electricity.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a table saw. I give $90 for it, and I still got it out there and use it. But I didn't have no money to buy anything with. And at the top of that, I cut up fence posts and made cedar top out of it.
That's a good table.
Then I bought a little lumber, and after Gene's folks moved to Tahlequah, there's a little bit of lumber out there that you can buy some at other places. I bought a little out there. Mostly cedar. That I don't go after. We kind of got started. We bought a lot of in Tennessee. Douglas had bought 4 loads out there.
In Bon Aqua? If you could count how many cedar chests you've made, would you be able to?
Oh, I don't have no idea.
How many people do you think have your cedar chest?
I don't know. I made, for the parish school, I give about 20 donated them down there to the, of course, Jane was the superintendent's secretary down there. I don't have it, I made it. They sold part of it for $1,400. I never charged her for that. I just paid her. The lumber though was not that expensive. You go to the sawmill and get it.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever charged for any of them?
Well, I sold several.
Oh.
You heard of Harold Corson?
No, who's that?
He's about 20 years younger than I am, or something like that. He's from Pampa. He come up here about the time when the oil, before there was an oil play. He didn't have enough to even pay a babysit. He had to hire a babysitter. When I worked up there in town, his wife babysat his kids. Anyway, he's retired. He donated the other thing. He's bought 3 of them for his employees at one time, several times. I charged $500 a piece for them, and that's about $100 too cheap on them. But I like to just do it, but I got to where I can't see any read a square hardly.
Yeah.
I don't have any on the jewelry chest I made. After the war, we've had for a long time, we met every year, picnic we called it, where I made 20 one year of the loads, killed all of them that went to the reunion.
Wow. How'd you get them down there?
I took them. It
On a
was
trailer?
in Indianapolis where it was at.
Wow.
We drove there. It was in,
I think the heat.
it had a different place every year. It was in Indianapolis 3 years. It was over in Cincinnati 3 years. Been in Maine, Michigan. It wasn't in all the different states, but it was in the most of them.
Was that for the Navy reunion?
Huh?
Was that for the Navy reunion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to quite a few of those.
The last one we went to was at, I think it was in Indianapolis, and there was just 3 of us went.
Wow. How many of you guys are left?
Huh?
How many of you are left?
How many?
How many of the guys are still around?
Oh, well, part of it never did go. There's been as many as 60-some to go to reunion.
Mm.
A full bunch of the ship was 315 was a full crew.
Mm-hmm. You remember Hank?
Huh?
You remember Hank?
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was my uncle.
Huh?
I thought he was my uncle for years.
Oh, no way what he was. I don't know. He lived somewhere up in the north there to start with.
Pennsylvania, right?
He ended up down in Stonewall, Florida.
Yeah, he was up in Pennsylvania. Wasn't he?
He might have well been. The biggest, the main crew on it was in the Northeast. That's where the crew was. That's where it was put in the commission at, and the crew was, the biggest part of the crew was in there.
Who was your favorite? Who were your best friends?
I don't know. I guess I had to say our motormaid's chief, his wife. We kept, he died pretty young, and we kept, she died this last year.
What were their names?
Mary Glanson.
Oh, okay.
She lived in Indianapolis, and the second reunion they had was in Indianapolis. Then after everything was over, they moved to Florida. She didn't like it at all. It was too hot. Then as soon as he died, she moved back to Indianapolis, and that's where she lived. She had two daughters.
What was his name?
She died this last year, sometime or another. I don't remember when.
When was the last time you talked to her?
Huh?
When was the last time you talked to her?
I talked to her about 2 or 3 months before she died. She had cancer. I happened to call her. We never talked very often, but 2 or 3 times a year. But she just went to a hole with cancer, and she didn't live. I don't know, 6 months or so after that. We had the reunion in Amarillo 3 times.
Yeah, I went to a couple of them.
Huh?
I went to a couple of those when they were in Amarillo. That's part of why I thought they were my family. I really did think those guys were my uncles. They sent me money and birthday cards, and when I graduated, I got all kinds of checks from them, and they were good people. They were always sending me cards.
There was one aboard ship that was in the same motorbike, same as I was, that lived in Washington,
Uh-huh.
Oregon, I mean. I don't know how, whether that was his home or what. They moved from Washington down to Florida. Some of them moved around a lot.
Well,
There was
what?
one that was there from Colorado that was aboard ship. Him and another one that we kind of, I guess you say buddies, we always kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in Colorado Springs.
What did you do on the ship?
I was down in the engine room, motorback as they call them. I wasn't the electricians down there too, but I was the work on the engines, run watch on them, and had to do the work on we had to do it.
Mm-hmm. What was it like having to live in those tiny quarters?
Huh?
What was it like having to live in those tiny quarters on the ship?
Oh, I wasn't no problem for me. We just had our bunks there, and everything was on there.
3 high? 1, 2, 3?
Huh?
3 bunks high?
I,
How many bunks? Like how many rows?
I think mine was I think there was 3 at the bottom, and the middle, and at the top.
Which one did you sleep on?
I was on I believe it was the middle one. There's just the bed. The bed is about that wide.
Mm-hmm.
Little, I think it must have been horsehair or some other mattress on it, about like
Couple
just
of
about
inches.
that thick.
That does not sound comfortable at all.
And then some of them, well, it was against the bulkhead on the ship, the middle of the ones, it was, I can't remember exactly how they was, but if you wasn't up against with bad weather, if you wasn't up against the side of the ship where you could pull your bunk up and make a V shape, you just sit there and slide on it all night long. That rough water that we went out one time was going for 27 days and never even saw the sun.
Wow.
Boy, it was rough.
27 days.
It was right straight west of Portland, Oregon, and north of, I don't know if you know where it was, what place they call there now in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
We were gone for 30 days, and it was rough. 27 days. We got back I forget what they call it, but the joint on the ship where it was made to give, we'd crack that for. But we'd go up on the water was rough, and you'd be up there, it looked like a hole down the ground, and that thing hit the bottom, and it's just like hitting a rock. It was rough.
Wow.
You couldn't, if you was just alone to let your back buck down where it was flat, you just sat there and you couldn't sleep in it. You just had to. I stuck my hammock up in the engine room of and we had all that hammocks. We put it up and slept in it. The only way you could sleep, you couldn't. Otherwise, you just scooting on that all night.
Wow. Huh. 27 days is a long time.
Nobody was allowed to be on deck outside until the ones that stood watching back in fantail with a hole there where they could go up, and then they could get up on the ladder and stick their head out, but they wasn't allowed to get up on the deck of the ship.
Wow.
It's danger of being washed off.
Hmm.
The captain is the one that run the ship was 100 and some foot up there, and they'd come down just soaked with water.
Did you ever get sick?
And that's the one out on the ship. I never did go out when I was in vomit after I got out, but I got to where it wasn't near so bad.
Goodness.
I'm sorry, I'm still
You
thinking
get
about being stuck in
you get over
Bumps.
it some, but you
27
still
days.
it's still. I got over to San Diego and I vomited before the night was over.
Oh. Yeah.
But it got to where you just, I was getting usually vomit at one time when it was out, but after that I was all right then. But I don't know, I guess just that certain movement all the time.
Mm. Were you glad to get out whenever you finally, when you finally left the Navy, were you glad to get out?
Well, yeah. I could have stayed in another week and got one been a motorbike second class, but I got out as soon as I could.
Yeah.
I was just a third class, but they told me if I stayed in another week, I'd get my second class, but I was ready to get out. Harvest was going on here too, and I needed to be back to help here. And I got into Amarillo on the bus, or I got out down in on north of Houston. I don't remember the name of the place, but that's where I was discharged at. Then I caught the bus and went to Amarillo, and Mama picked me up over there. I come in, and I got home about noon, and I got on the combine that evening.
Wow. You're a hard worker.
You're
a hard worker.
Well, wheat was going, and Papa was trying to do all of it. He had a couple boys hard.
No gap years back then, I guess.
And then you met Grandma. And then you met Grandma and you got married. Mm-hmm. I said, then you met Grandma Jean and you got married.
Yeah.
Was she real cute? She told me she had eyes for you when she was 14 years old, and then you went off to the Navy, but she knew that maybe she was 12. She might have been 12.
Wow.
She was young. She told me she knew she was going to marry you as soon as she saw you, but then you went off to the Navy.
I'd been better, I guess, for that right. I'd be probably about right, about 14.
And then she married you when she was...
She graduated in 48.
Mm-hmm.
I got out in 46.
Tell me about your Model A. You got tell me about your Model A you got out there. The car?
Well, it's just a Model A is all I know.
You bought it for $25?
Well, $25 then was.
What's the difference between a Model A and a Model T? I don't know.
Model T, you had to crank.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And the Model A,
we drove Model T to school over back road for a year or so. Rode horses. The first grade we rode with a teacher down in Taz. Then went to Mac Millen, 5 miles west of our mailbox, and we rode horses. I guess the first year, Lucille and I was all that wet. Then Ruby was next to her. She started next year then. And Papa got a buggy. We went in for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. Then he bought a Model T car, and we drove it for a little while. Then he finally traded in and got a Model A. I don't know, it must have been 31 or 32 or somewhere along in there, and he got a Model A, and he bought a new car, and then 29, a Model A. Then the last 2 years I went to school, well, they had to go 11 years in to graduate. In the last 2 years, I had to be, they didn't teach it in Macmillan, I had to go to town. Mm-hmm.
Did you have to get out of the car every time you stopped and look for horses?
And what?
Look for horses?
Oh.
I heard that when they first got cars, if you came to an intersection,
you have
to stop.
We just rode the horses. It just wasn't really a road. It's just a road through the country over to Macmillan.
So there's no cars to worry about. There's no roads.
There you go.
I worked the horses. I was old enough that I drove the horses in the field a little bit with a little sled.
That's cool.
And then I had the Milo, that horse with the header, and I really wasn't big enough to. I was 4 years old when we come out here, and I would have been. Let's see, I know when I was 10 years old, it was when they had that Model T that would go to school, and Lucille and I took turns about driving. That was my older sister.
How many?
There wasn't no. Well, there's just a dirt road down there where 70 is. That was all. It went down to the 21-mile corner back east on over across 83, then turned went south just about straight into the Canadian.
Wow. It was all dirt road?
Huh?
It was just a dirt road?
Just dirt road. Well, the 37 was before they even paved the 70 here. That was when the WPA was working. They hauled clinky from up there, and they plowed that up with the horses, and breaking plow, and they put it on the road up there, and then the WPA workers, the ones working up there with sledgehammer, busted up the rock on the road. That was during the school year of 36 and 37, then 37 and 38. I graduated 38 then. But I guess I went to school for 8 years over back road. I was 17 when I graduated.
What'd you do after you graduated?
Huh?
What'd you do after you graduated?
I just worked, is all I know, in the field, and what I hoed some corn for Mr. Irvin, and well, I was already big enough I'd drive the tractor then. I don't remember the first year that I drove it, but I was about 8 years old and drove it to the combine when I started driving it.
8-year-olds are real different now.
But I guess I was 17 in April, and I graduated in June, I guess, when school was out.
What made you want to join the Navy?
Huh?
What made you join the Navy?
You say why or?
Yeah.
Or when? I just decided it's better than the Army.
Oh, yes.
And I got the Navy because when I got out of high school, I took a home study course in diesel engineering, and the Navy there's a lot of diesel stuff in that.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I went to Gulfport, Mississippi, went to the BE school, basic engineering, they call it. Well, before that, when I got out of high school, I took a home study course in diesel engineering. I studied it here at home and finished it. Then I had to go to Memphis, Tennessee for, I can't remember whether it was 4 weeks or 6 weeks school there. And I got a degree there, and then I never did do anything or just work then. I think that's one reason why they went ahead and took me for the Navy, because they had a roster up on the board at noon one day that I was supposed to go to Detroit, Michigan, a PT boat. I don't know if you heard of them, school. I got in that night, they took that down and put a notice up to report to San Diego and get aboard ship. And that's what I did. I was on the way to Tokyo when they dropped the bomb.
Really? Wow. That's crazy.
And it was everything. We went on to Pearl Harbor, and we saw there and had to do weather patrol and anti-aircraft patrol and submarine, all of that. Just then whenever they discharged it, we went back through we'll come back through the canal and ended up down at Great Cold Springs, Florida, where we decommissioned the ship.
Did y'all ever get bombed on or shot at or anything?
Huh?
Did you ever see any like shooting action or anything like that?
No, not.
Oh, good.
Well, before I got aboard ship, this old Atlantic, and they got the credit for sinking a German sub.
Wow. The Gustafson, right?
Yeah.
Was that the only?
It was it was an escort ship. What it was, they escorted the bigger ships.
Mm-hmm.
The radio was the one that protected them. They went out and way out and picked up what they could find. But they ended up having the credit for sinking a German submarine.
Wow.
I noticed I heard the other day on the TV that Russia's biggest warship was sitting at the bottom of the ocean over there and sunk.
Good.
There would have been, all of them would have been on it. It went out too. I think if Trump still been president, Russia would still been at home where they ought to be. So just, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think if they had done, the lawyers had done what was right there, Biden would have been in there as president either.
Yeah. How many presidents have you seen?
Huh?
How many presidents have you seen?
How many what?
Presidents.
I seen Johnson. I guess that's really the only ones I really seen personally.
Oh, you saw him? How did you see him?
I was on the school board and they sent me down to somewhere downstate, Austin, I guess, for a meeting, and he was there.
Wow.
He took Roosevelt's place when he died.
Did you get to meet him or you just saw him?
Huh?
Did you get to talk to him or you just saw him?
I just saw him. I guess he probably made a speech in the thing. I don't really remember what went over there, but they just, the new board member, all the board members was, I guess they go to a meeting every year if they will.
Mm-hmm.
I know the run you hear them talk about if they're on the board, they're going to do this and that, but they get on there. It's what the state does instead of what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's a state thing. If they have to follow the state rules. Of course, they've got a job to do, but it's not just necessarily them going to do it. It's got to be the group.
Did you do any major things on the school board?
Huh?
Did you do anything major on the school board?
Just on there is about all.
How long were you on there?
I was on there 15 years.
Did you ever think about running for politics?
No,
You didn't want to be county commissioner like Dad?
huh?
You didn't want to be county commissioner?
I never did have any desire to be a commissioner.
Did you meet any other famous people?
Huh?
Did you meet any other famous people? I mean, I guess a president's pretty famous, right?
I don't reckon I did. I don't remember, but yeah.
Oh. Hmm. How many times did you go to Hawaii?
Do what?
How many times did you go to Hawaii?
Do what?
How many times did you go to Hawaii? Because you went with Grandma Jean, I remember. When I was young, you went to Hawaii?
Oh. Well, of course, over during the war, we've been back, I guess, twice since then.
Hmm.
Went back, was over, we headed to Honolulu and that, during the war, and then we went on when John Cup was
Mm-hmm.
little, we went over there and see Teddy and Smiley
Yeah.
when he was over there. And then we went on a cruise and went over there and went and visited the 5 of the islands.
Mm.
And I think that's the only time that we. But during the war, when we was over there, that where the Air Force base was, this really big. Well, I call it just a big draw, just off of the airport there. That was just filled up with tore up planes where the Japs subbed to blow them up.
Mm.
Then we was back over there then, but after the war, that was all cleaned out and everything. It just, well, I never seen. It looked like it might have been the deepest beer up yard to the road. It was just wrecked planes and stuff in there.
Wow.
And I know, and then the entrance to the harbor over there, there's just ships just lined up in there where they was tied up, I guess, in there where the Japs blowed all them up. Then the Arizona, it was, of course, sitting there, and just the deck on it was just about water level.
Wow. Such a shame. Hmm. We went into that truck bed over there, and Theresa saw a whole bunch of those trophies from the motorcycle rallies. I told her they were. We saw all the trophies from the motorcycle rallies.
Oh.
I told her there's hundreds of them. Every time you went to a rally, y'all came home with trophies and plaques. How many years would you say you were going to motorcycle rallies?
Huh?
How many years did y'all go to motorcycle rallies?
Oh, we started doing that, and well, I guess I got the first motorcycle about 74.
Mm.
I think that was 74 that we had the dirt bikes. Well, the really wasn't just straight dirt bikes either. They could be rode on the road, but that's what we started out with.
Is that the little ones that we used to ride on? The 50s and the 90 and the 110? When did you get your first big bike?
I must have got it. It was a 750 Honda I bought it. I don't remember. It was after Jane married. Of course, Bobby used to let him have the 750 that I bought.
Do you still have it?
No, he traded it for an air conditioner, I think.
Well, a motorcycle is air conditioned. Huh. Traded a motorcycle for an air conditioner. That's interesting.
Priorities.
Yeah. Well, he had kids.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd you get started going to the motorcycle rallies?
Huh?
How'd you get started going to the motorcycle rallies?
Well, there was Ralph Buckner lived in Portland, Oregon, I believe it was where he was from there. I don't know whether it was his hometown or what, but we were, I don't know how come us decided to go up there, but anyway, after I started working at Collinsworth, we decided to make a trip, and we went up there and visited him, and then went to they had a rally ever since the decommissioned the ship, but we had never went. There wasn't no way we could go to start with. It was over in somewhere back east, and they were telling them about the rally. They went to go and do it. So we went to the next event, Indianapolis. Don Johnson was the chief motormaid, not the motormaid, chief head of us, of the individual division. Went down there, and then I don't remember where it was after that, but I think we went to all the rest of them after that. There was in all of the states, but it was in Florida twice. In Indianapolis 2 or 3 times. We had it down Rolla 3 times. It's in Arizona, in California, I know twice. Colorado Springs, Portland, Oregon, Watertown, we called that the town where just opposite the ship was named from his hometown. It was in Wisconsin, I believe is where it was. It was in Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia. I can't remember. It's been up at I can't remember all of them.
Yeah.
Sturgis. I didn't go to it when they had it up there. I've been up to Sturgis. Gene had a motorbike convention meeting up at the one you had to go through Sturgis, but it's just the other side of Sturgis.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it at the same time Sturgis was going on. But we stayed back east of Sturgis. I can't call the name of the town there.
And then you just started looking for other motorcycle rallies to go to?
We visited all the states, Canada and Mexico on the motorcycles. So.
Mm-hmm. We used to always go to Elk City every year.
But the biggest part of the crew on the Gulf was from the northeastern states. We go to BE school. There's a couple of them there that they were next door neighbors. They didn't even know each other till they got into BE school. We found out there's just the next house right there by them.
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
I couldn't imagine anybody that close and not even know who. They're just different people, different parts of the country, different.
Mm-hmm. You know all your neighbors, huh?
What's that big barbecue place in Amarillo?
Oh, the Texan.
Huh?
The Texan.
Not the Texan, but that other one down in town there. Anyway, the ones from the east, we had it down there. They were right at that steakhouse. And boy, they thought that was their meals and things up there. There was $35 or so a plate. Up and down here it was about 10 or 12. I don't know what they're talking. They thought that was something. Everything up there is just plumb out of sight.
Wow. Everything's cheaper in Texas. It used to be.
Yeah. One of the electricians had one on there, lived in New York, Syracuse, I believe it was. We had the reunion up there, and he kind of sponsored it there, and went in and eat to a place where he's done the electrical work on it. At that time, he was getting $50 an hour for his work, and down here it was comparable to it. It's probably 12 or 15. It was about all the difference it was.
Wow.
And they're talking about that steakhouse over there, the price of it. They thought it was, you go in there and get about a $10 or $12 steak, and you had a big one. And that up there is one of it. Well, one of them, when he had the reunion, his order was $50.
Goodness.
It's kind of like it is in New York and in California, I guess. It's just in different places. They're just out of sight. Like they talked about the other day, somebody filled up a gas there on TV and $7 a gallon in California.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know you forget how to get over to your own house. I mean, did y'all build that house too over there? Did y'all build that little house? The rent house that Dad took? The one that Dad lives in? Did y'all build that house?
For Douglas?
No, the one that Dad lives in.
Huh?
The one that Dad lives in, you used to rent it.
Oh, no, that was one of these houses from these gas plants that whenever they, way back there, whenever they laid all these gas lines, things they had well over there 2 miles west of Albuquerque School, the Backbone Schoolhouse, there was a gas plant there that they had 3 or 4 houses there for the employees to live in. They didn't have these. If somebody stayed there on the job all the time. They didn't have them running like they do now. And that we moved and bought that for a guy moved it in over there. And Mama was going to move into it, and Douglas or Ernest got her to move to town. So then he built on to well, for the living room in there where they go into the I guess you call it a dining room, where you go into the other part. That was the end of the house. Just a little two bedroom house, all it was.
Yeah, I remember going over there when I was a kid. Yeah. There was a lady that lived there, and she used to give me stuff every time I went in there. Little statues and toys.
Jane ever got out of the service, he built that south part of it for the room onto that there.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger now.
It wasn't very big. That's how come the trees and things to be so close to it. We put the house in there, and I set out the trees, and I caught them too close to start with. They don't look very big when they're little, and when they get up, then they're too close to the house.
Yeah. Well, they don't look too close. I think it cools the house, right?
They ought to be, really, they ought to be about 20 foot at least from the house.
You think it'll affect the house from the roots?
Yeah. He took up part of the trees, and he needs to set out some more further back and take them up close to it, because it's too close if far ever gets around.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I guess they got a big fire in New Mexico somewhere where they're talking on TV. I turned on the Fox channel. I don't know whether it was yesterday, I believe it. They told how many acres had burned and the houses.
Wow. What about a few years back, whenever that fire got so close? Were you real worried about it? It got 5 miles away? Something like that?
Yeah, well, that fire down there, went down the Canadian River, or down the river, the South Canadian, burned 335,000 acres, I think they say.
Jeez. That's a lot. But y'all could see it.
Here, that built the Beaver River north of Perrington is there in Oklahoma. It burned a big area in there. There's 300-some thousand acres in there, they said it burned. I think it's 345,
It's a lot.
It got a far one day when that wind was 50, 60 miles an hour. It burned over somewhere. They said all they could do was just let it burn out. They couldn't get in there to fight it. The ground was rough.
Yeah, that, who's the guy that did Hank the Cowdog? He wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
Hank the Cowdog. What's his name?
John.
I can't think what his name is.
I wanted to call him, but I said call him John.
Oh, yeah, Johnson.
Something.
I'm going to look it up. But his whole, didn't all his land.
A few years ago, his house burned course, when they had that fire down there
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he wrote a story, or he wrote a book about it because he lost all of his land. John Erickson.
Yeah.
And I saw him at that craft fair up here at Thanksgiving, and he was selling his new book, and he was talking about how all of his property had burned during that fire. He lost a lot.
I guess there's a lot of cedar trees down there that big around. I know some of them went down there. They burned and killed the trees. Cut the dead ones out.
Mm-hmm.
Did over John Erickson and somebody else just wrote with him, but they were started on horseback over there around borders to that and there. They rode down rivers down to Canadian. He kept out at night, but then he come back and started writing the book on it.
Mm. We always had all his books when we were growing up. Hank the Cow Dog. Have you never heard of Hank the Cow Dog?
No.
Oh, he's a big deal around here.
Yeah.
I guess.
There's a whole series of books. They're children's books.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah.
If you come on 281 down here, or how'd you come up here?
Oh, I came up 83. Yeah.
You know where 281,
Mm-hmm.
about 20 miles back over there where you come in up here on 17.
I came on 281 and then came up 70. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, that tree road down there where that on the south side of the road, you turn at the east side of that, you go south, you go down to Erickson's place down the river.
Okay. Oh.
I never have been down there. It's probably 2 or 3 miles down there to the river.
Yeah.
But then the fire here that started over around Stellytown somewhere over there a few years ago went down the river and burned his house down.
Yeah.
I think his best I could figure out was it said he's a mile or so north of the river, but it got a lot of. It never did get up to 281, but
It was close.
They got in there, but plowed up some places, and they thought it was going across 281 back north, but it never did get. The wind kind of went out. That was. It's been 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was a scary moment. I was real close. They could see it from the house.
It was about 24 miles between this side of Pampa on the 70, and it burned across the road. Just south of the river.
Is that the closest one has ever come?
Huh?
Is that the closest a brush fire's ever come to you?
Well, no, the closest is down there about a mile south of the 21 mile corner.
Yeah.
It comes south up there about a mile, well, less than a mile on the corner there, but the wind changed it when it played out. That far down there, just this side of the river this year. On Harold Corson's place, it went across, it got a little event, but it went on the east a ways. I don't know how far it went.
You've been really lucky. Very blessed.
We had some high winds here and a lot of them this year.
Mm-hmm. How many acres do you have, John Papa? How many acres do you have?
Well, they're scattered around, but I've got nearly 2,000 acres.
Yeah.
I've got, this section here, I've got 440 acres off of it, out across the road. Where Douglas is at, there's 640 of there, it's section. Then up at the feedlot, we've got half section just southeast of it. Then up there just north of the feedlot, there's 261 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And over about 8 miles west of Persian, there's 320 acres.
Wow.
It's all dry too.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole
I don't know
panhandle.
what we're gonna do if we don't. It's all dry land and it's all dry. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Maybe we'll get a lot of rain soon.
Cotton last year didn't make it pretty good. It's just too dry on it.
Yeah.
There ain't no moisture on it. Right now there's not enough moisture to even get anything about getting it up.
It looked like it might try and rain yesterday, and then it didn't.
Huh?
It looked like it was going to try and be rainy yesterday.
Oh.
It was overcast.
We've got a little over half an inch of rain and snow together this winter is all we got.
Total? Half an inch?
We got 2,900 one time and another time we got about 3,000, I think they said.
Wow.
That's not enough to even wet the top of the ground.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Some in town, the last time we got about 29 or 3,000, they got an inch and 3,000 in town.
I wonder how come they get more rain than you. Why do they get more rain than you?
They've had a lot of rain in town that we didn't get out here.
Maybe you should have settled north of town.
We haven't had any measurable amount of moisture since sometime last year.
Wow.
We planted some wheat and it didn't even sprout. It's still just laying there.
Wow. When did you plant?
Huh?
When did you plant?
It was sometime in September.
Wow. Huh.
September and October is a good time to plant wheat.
Yeah.
But if it was dry, sometimes you dust it in and it'll come on and do good. But every time it rained, it'd go around us here.
So you don't think you'll get a wheat crop at all?
There's not going to be no wheat this year. If it is, it's going to be very little.
I remember getting big handfuls of wheat and chewing it up and making it into gum. I loved doing that. Carry around a Ziploc bag of it.
Wheat ought to be up that tall, heading out and all, and it didn't even come up yet.
Do you ever water the wheat fields?
Huh?
Do you ever water them?
Well, we have watered some, but we don't have no water.
You don't irrigate them? Or?
And there's a lot of them in water and stuff. They're raising little stuff, but whenever you get through and look at the figures you get through,
It's just too much.
nobody ain't making much out of it.
Mm.
Very little. Cotton don't take a lot of water, but it's got to have some.
Yeah. How'd you learn all the things you did about planting?
Huh?
How'd you learn all the things that you did about planting?
About the water?
No, about planting, you know, about the ground being certain temperatures and all
Oh,
that.
well, you just learn things you gotta know. Around something all your life, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn a little, but not amount to nothing. The seasons have changed. Used to you plant wheat in the fall of the year. They'd get up and you have wheat to graze over for cattle up until the 1st of April. The 1st of April, didn't take them off because it started jointing. This year, the 1st of April, you couldn't even find the seed hadn't even sprouted.
Mm. Just too dry.
It's just no moisture in the ground. I guess there's a little bit in some of this farmland, but this grassland, they don't. You can go down deep as you want to it. It's just as dry as it can be.
Wow.
We got that little dab of snow and a little rain. It was about 2900s. Then a week or two later, we got about another, I think they said 2900s. And that's all that we've measurable amount that we've got.
Hmm.
Sometimes they say we get 200 or 300s, but it's not all going for it hits the ground.
Yeah.
200 or 300s worth of rain.
Not much.
That's not much.
Hmm.
If we raise anything this year, it looks like we're going to have to get the rain on it when we need it, and this country's not noted to produce a rain when you need it on a growing crop. You got to have some soil moisture.
Yeah. Hmm.
Last year, cotton, it was some of it it made a little off of, but a lot of it wasn't even, it never made anything, it got so much in it.
How much would you make off of cotton if it was a really good crop?
Well, it's going to soon be time to plant cotton again, but last year I made 122,000 off the cotton. I got 16,000 expense in it to start with.
So
I made a little off of it. Douglas on his went the whole. He did some of it did back about eight tenths of a bale to the acre.
wow.
And to make anything at all on it, you got to get about 2 bales an acre.
Hmm.
I made a little on mine. I had some over that Farnsworth, 300 acres over there that we got a little more moisture on.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any wheat last year?
We haven't planted no wheat in several years.
Mm. What about soy? Haven't you been planting soy?
What?
Soybeans?
Well, you got to have moisture to make.
Mm. Those are the ones that have to be a certain temperature in the ground to plant,
I don't know
right?
whether they're quite as thing like cotton or not, but cotton you got to get it planted by a certain time and have time for it to make. And it's got the soil temperature is supposed to be about the same, and you need so much moisture in the ground is the same. If you don't get it planted at that time to get it up, it'll have time to make in the fall.
Mm. Sounds stressful.
I'll tell you, if everything, they look at the price of fuel and everything, there's just no money in it.
Yeah.
It costs everything for it to make.
Hmm.
Oh, what we did, we haven't had it in several years. It got out so cheap that nobody's planted it.
Yeah. Huh. What else did y'all plant last year? Just cotton? Or
We just, the last 2 or 3 years, we just planted cottons all.
hmm. Hmm.
One year, when we planted it was a complete loss. It never did. The ground was kind of dry, and they made one round. And it rained that night, and it was the ground so deep it wouldn't come up.
Mm.
They just marked us off as a complete loss.
Hmm. Well, are you about ready to wander over that direction?
I don't know whether they want me over there or not.
Well, they definitely do. Darlene has said that I was supposed to bring you over there. Or you're supposed to drive me over there.
Oh.
Yeah. So we can go have Easter lunch. Do you know it's Easter? Gotta go make some Easter eggs.
Neighbors called me this morning at 6 o'clock. I didn't have my hearing aids in. I could barely hear the phone ring, and I could get it to.
Yeah.
Finally, he got over here about, I don't know, 6:30 or something. He come over because he said he could hear me, but I couldn't hear him. I put my hearing aids in, or I was putting them in when he got over here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he wanted to go to town so early for, but I know he goes up there. When he's working, you go up there at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, just sit there and
Yeah. Drink coffee.
sit there and do that, and then at 7 o'clock I have to leave to go to work.
It's his routine.